The velvet curtain of a Manhattan night was draped across the city, a million tiny lights glittering like distant, unreachable stars. Inside a hushed recording studio, somewhere in the heart of that sleepless metropolis, a voice soared, clear as crystal, reaching notes that seemed to defy gravity. It was a sound that could shatter glass or mend a broken heart, a vocal instrument of unparalleled range and raw, untamed emotion. This was the voice of Mariah Carey, a phenomenon about to explode onto the global stage. Yet, in those early days, shrouded in the carefully constructed mystique of a rising star, few could truly grasp the depths from which such a voice emerged. Public perception, initially, was a symphony of adoration. She was the pristine vocal talent, the innocent ingenue with a 5-octave range, the new darling of pop music. Critics marveled, fans swooned, and record sales soared into the stratosphere. She was the American dream personified, a fairy tale of talent discovered and swiftly elevated. But behind the dazzling smiles and the meticulously styled image, a deeper, more intricate narrative was already unfolding, a story far more complex than any glossy magazine cover could convey. This was not merely the tale of a pop sensation. It was the saga of a young woman grappling with profound insecurity, a tumultuous upbringing, and a relentless quest for control in a life that, for so long, had felt utterly powerless. The industry quickly labeled her a diva, a term often flung with a mix of awe and thinly veiled disdain. They saw the extravagant demands, the grand gestures, the perceived perfectionism, and they judged. Yet the truth, as always, was far more nuanced. It was a story woven with threads of isolation, a desperate need for validation, and an unyielding artistic vision that often clashed with the commercial machinery surrounding her. This journey, from the quiet struggles of her fragmented childhood to the blinding glare of global superstardom, was a relentless climb, marked by triumphs that defied expectation and personal battles fought in the most public of arenas. As the world watched, mesmerized by her stratospheric success, a silent narrative of resilience, vulnerability, and the enduring power of her unique voice began to unfold. This was the story of Mariah Carey, a woman who dared to dream beyond the ordinary, and in doing so, etched her name indelibly into the heart of pop culture. Her path was rarely smooth. Often, it was a rocky, treacherous ascent, filled with unseen wounds and silent sacrifices, all for the elusive embrace of true artistic freedom and a desperate longing to be truly understood. On March 27, 1969, in Huntington, New York, a child was born who would redefine the landscape of modern vocal artistry. She was christened Mariah Carey, the youngest of 3 children to Patricia Hickey, a former opera singer and vocal coach of Irish descent, and Alfred Roy Carey, an aeronautical engineer of African-American and Venezuelan ancestry. Their union was, even then, a bold statement against the prevailing social norms of the late 1960s, a mixed-race couple in a predominantly white community. This racial dynamic, often met with prejudice and ostracism, cast a long shadow over Mariah's formative years, creating a household marked by both creative passion and profound discord. The Carey household, particularly in its earliest configuration, was a crucible of artistic expression. Patricia, with her classical training, recognized and nurtured Mariah's burgeoning vocal talent from a very young age. Even as a toddler, Mariah would mimic her mother's operatic trills, a natural ability to replicate complex melodies and vocal nuances that hinted at the extraordinary instrument she possessed. Yet, this artistic environment was frequently overshadowed by the tumultuous relationship between her parents. Alfred and Patricia's marriage was volatile, characterized by explosive arguments and irreconcilable differences, largely exacerbated by the societal pressures and racial bigotry they faced. The constant tension often led to Mariah feeling like an outsider, a silent observer caught in the cross-currents of adult conflict. When Mariah was just 3 years old, her parents' turbulent marriage dissolved, ending in divorce. This fragmentation of her family was a foundational trauma, leaving a deep imprint on her psyche. Her older siblings, Allison and Morgan, were significantly older and often involved in their own struggles, leaving Mariah feeling isolated and emotionally adrift. She lived primarily with her mother, often moving between different towns in Long Island, never truly feeling settled. The socio-economic environment was often challenging. Patricia struggled financially as a single mother, despite her artistic talents. There were times of genuine hardship, a stark contrast to the opulent lifestyle Mariah would later command. This early instability fostered a profound sense of rootlessness and a fierce independence, but also a deep-seated insecurity and an almost desperate yearning for stability and unconditional love. Mariah's unique traits began to emerge vividly during these difficult years. She was a solitary child, finding solace in music, often retreating into her own world of melodies. Her voice, even then, possessed an otherworldly quality, a rare gift that set her apart. She would spend hours singing, practicing, experimenting with her range, transforming her bedroom into a private concert hall where she was both performer and audience. This innate talent became her escape, her refuge from the emotional turmoil that surrounded her. Her initial exposure to her future profession was deeply personal, an intuitive understanding that her voice was not just a hobby, but a calling, a pathway to transcend the limitations of her circumstances. The state of the music industry felt miles away from her fragmented reality, a glamorous, distant world she only glimpsed on television. Yet, the dream of reaching that world, of sharing her voice with others, became a quiet, burning ember within her, a solitary motivation that would eventually ignite a global phenomenon. The journey from a fragmented childhood to global stardom was a relentless, often arduous ascent for Mariah Carey, paved with countless rejections and moments of profound self-doubt. After high school, she moved to New York City, a determined young woman armed with an extraordinary voice and a demo tape. The city, however, proved to be an unforgiving crucible for aspiring artists. She lived a meager existence, sharing a tiny apartment with several roommates, often working odd jobs as a waitress and coat-check girl to simply survive. Poverty was a constant companion, a stark reminder of the financial instability that had plagued her childhood. She faced skepticism and closed doors at every turn. Record labels seemed uninterested in her unique blend of R&B, pop, and gospel influences, unsure where to categorize her genre-bending sound. Her relentless efforts, however, were fueled by an unshakable belief in her own talent. She spent countless hours honing her songwriting craft, collaborating with aspiring producers and musicians in dingy studios, pouring her heart and soul into every melody and lyric. She understood that her voice alone was a gift, but her songwriting was the key to unlocking her true artistic vision. A pivotal moment, almost a fairy tale in its execution, occurred at a music industry gala. Mariah, then a backup singer for Brenda Kay, Starr handed her demo tape to Tommy Mottola, the head of Columbia Records, as she was leaving the party. He listened to it on the way home, recognized the raw brilliance, and within days, a frantic search for the mysterious vocalist ensued. This serendipitous encounter was the breakthrough moment, the crack in the seemingly impenetrable wall of the music industry that finally allowed her light to shine. The public and critical reception to her debut, self-titled album in 1990 was nothing short of a phenomenon. Vision of Love soared to the top of the charts, a breathtaking display of her vocal acrobatics, particularly her signature whistle register. Critics hailed her as a vocal prodigy, a generational talent. The sheer power and range of her voice captivated audiences worldwide, quickly earning her the moniker The Voice and solidifying her as a formidable presence in the music world. She swept the Grammy Awards, including Best New Artist, an almost instantaneous ascent to the pinnacle of pop music. The impact of her rising fame on her personal life and family was immediate and complex. Financial struggles vanished overnight, replaced by an unimaginable level of wealth and luxury. However, this newfound success also brought an intense scrutiny, a public dissection of her every move. Her previously strained relationships with her siblings, particularly her older sister Allison, became even more fraught, entangled in the complexities of celebrity and perceived entitlement. The quiet, private world she had once inhabited was shattered, replaced by the relentless glare of the spotlight. She gained immense professional validation, but at the cost of her personal freedom, stepping into a gilded cage where every note, every word, every relationship was now under intense public observation, a transition from obscurity to the kind of fame that reshaped her very existence. Mariah Carey's romantic entanglements, particularly her first marriage, became central to her public narrative, intricately woven into the fabric of her soaring career. Her relationship with Tommy Mottola, the powerful head of Sony Music who discovered her, began as a professional mentorship and quickly blossomed into a highly scrutinized romance. They married in 1993 in a lavish fairy tale-like ceremony reportedly costing $500,000, a spectacle that captured the imagination of the world. Mottola was 20 years her senior, and their union was instantly cast as a modern-day Pygmalion story, where the industry titan molded his protégé into a global superstar. However, behind the gilded gates of their sprawling, luxurious estate in Bedford, New York, dubbed Sing Sing by Mariah herself due to its perceived restrictiveness, their dynamic grew increasingly complex and controlling. Mariah often spoke of feeling isolated and creatively stifled, under the watchful eye of a husband who was also her boss. She described a sense of being constantly monitored, her movements limited, and her artistic choices heavily influenced. "I was a prisoner in the house," she famously stated, reflecting on the profound sense of entrapment. This controlling environment fueled her desire for more creative freedom, leading to music that subtly, and sometimes overtly, expressed her yearning for liberation, such as the critically acclaimed album Butterfly and its lead single, Honey, which featured a narrative about escaping a confining situation. The divorce proceedings, initiated in 1997 and finalized in 1998, became a public spectacle, the unraveling of a dream marriage played out in tabloid headlines. The emotional toll was immense, as Mariah navigated the highly public separation from a man who had been instrumental in her career, but had also, by her account, stifled her personal growth. This period marked a crucial turning point, as she shed the carefully curated image of the innocent pop princess and began to embrace a more independent, assertive persona, both personally and artistically. Following her divorce, Mariah entered a series of relationships that, while less overtly scandalous, were still scrutinized under the unblinking eye of the media. Her brief romance with baseball star Derek Jeter in the late 1990s was a subject of intense tabloid interest, offering glimpses into her life outside the music industry's tight grip. Later, her marriage to actor and comedian Nick Cannon in 2008 came as a surprise to many. Their union, which produced their twins, Moroccan and Monroe, was characterized by public displays of affection and a seemingly more playful dynamic than her previous marriage. They often shared details of their family life, attempting to project an image of normalcy amidst the extraordinary demands of their careers. However, this marriage too ultimately dissolved, with their separation announced in 2014 and divorce finalized in 2016. Despite the public nature of these relationships, Mariah consistently protected her emotional core, often channeling her experiences into her songwriting. Each entanglement, whether a source of joy or heartbreak, contributed to her evolution as an artist and a woman, reflecting her constant search for love, freedom, and self-acceptance in a world that often sought to define her by her romantic choices rather than her immense talent. She navigated these complexities with a blend of vulnerability and resilience, always striving to reclaim her narrative from the relentless clamor of public perception. The zenith of Mariah Carey's career was an unparalleled era of vocal mastery and cultural dominance, painting her as the undeniable queen of pop for a significant span of the 1990s. From her debut in 1990 through the turn of the millennium, she not only topped charts with an almost unprecedented frequency, but also fundamentally reshaped the sound of mainstream pop and R&B. Her iconic roles were not those of a traditional actress, though she later ventured into film. Rather, her most profound performances unfolded within the sonic landscapes of her albums and the captivating visuals of her music videos. The world watched, mesmerized, as she delivered vocal acrobatics that seemed to defy human capability. Her 5-octave range, particularly her piercing whistle register, becoming a signature that few could replicate. Her groundbreaking achievements were numerous. She became the first artist to have their first 5 singles reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, a feat that solidified her immediate superstar status. Albums like Music Box, Daydream, and Butterfly sold tens of millions of copies worldwide, establishing her as one of the best-selling artists of all time. Songs such as Hero, Fantasy, One Sweet Day, with Boys II Men holding the record for the longest-running #1 song for decades, and My All became instant classics, demonstrating her versatile ability to craft soaring ballads and infectious pop R&B anthems. These were more than just hit songs, they were cultural touchstones, soundtracking countless moments in the lives of millions. The public persona Mariah projected during her peak was initially one of a demure, angelic vocalist, carefully presented as the wholesome pop princess by her then-husband and label head, Tommy Mottola. She often wore modest clothing and maintained a somewhat reserved demeanor in early interviews. However, as she grew increasingly restless under the constraints of her controlling marriage and sought greater artistic autonomy, her public persona began a dramatic transformation. She shed the innocence, embracing a more sophisticated, sensual, and ultimately more authentic self. This shift was vividly evident in her fashion choices, her more assertive public statements, and the increasingly hip-hop and R&B-infused sound of her music. This transition was not always smooth, and it often contrasted sharply with the pristine image that had first captivated audiences, revealing glimpses of a fiercely independent woman determined to reclaim her narrative. Vivid scenes of Mariah at work during this period illuminate her meticulous perfectionism and undeniable talent. In the studio, surrounded by producers and engineers, she would spend hours layering harmonies, perfecting vocal runs, and finding the precise emotional nuance for each lyric. She was known for her hands-on approach to songwriting and production, often co-writing and co-producing her own tracks, a testament to her comprehensive musicality beyond just her vocal prowess. On stage, during sold-out arena tours like the Daydream World Tour, she commanded vast audiences with effortless grace, her voice soaring through cavernous venues, each note a testament to years of dedicated practice and innate ability. Interacting with fans, she often exuded a genuine warmth, while with colleagues she was respected for her unwavering commitment to her craft, even as her diva reputation began to crystallize. Her cultural impact during her peak was immense. She represented the epitome of vocal excellence, setting a new standard for vocalists with her technical prowess and emotive delivery. She influenced a generation of singers who sought to emulate her range and melismatic style. Furthermore, she became a bridge between pop and R&B, seamlessly blending genres and helping to usher in an era where R&B influences permeated mainstream pop. She wasn't just a singer, she was a symbol of vocal aspiration, a testament to raw talent, and a powerful force that shaped the sound and image of popular music for over a decade, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of contemporary music. Beyond the glittering spectacle of chart-topping hits and sold-out arenas, Mariah Carey's secret personal life was a landscape of profound inner conflicts, vulnerabilities, and battles largely hidden from the public eye. The seemingly effortless glamour she projected often masked a deep-seated insecurity, a lingering echo of the fragmentation and emotional instability that defined her childhood. Her early life, marked by constant moves and a sense of being an outsider due to her mixed-race heritage, fostered a profound yearning for stability and belonging, which she often sought to create through meticulous control over her environment and her career. This desire for control became both a strength and a burden, a shield against perceived chaos, but also a source of isolation. Mariah grappled with significant emotional struggles, particularly in the wake of her divorce from Tommy Mottola. While publicly she projected liberation, privately, she navigated the complex emotional fallout of a relationship that had been both creatively formative and personally stifling. She spoke of feeling trapped and lonely during that period, despite being at the height of her professional success. The pressures of fame exacerbated these internal battles. The relentless schedule, the constant demands, the unblinking scrutiny of the media, all contributed to a sense of exhaustion and disillusionment. She often felt a profound disconnect between the larger-than-life persona the world adored and the sensitive, often vulnerable woman she knew herself to be. This identity crisis, fueled by years of being defined by others, led to moments of profound introspection and a yearning for authenticity. Her relationship with her family, particularly her older siblings, Allison and Morgan, remained a source of significant heartache and unresolved conflict. These relationships, often strained by past grievances and the complexities of her immense wealth, were frequently a topic of public fascination and personal pain for Mariah. She often expressed a longing for familial harmony, yet the deep-seated issues persisted, casting a shadow over her personal peace. Her struggle to reconcile her public image with her private reality led to periods of intense emotional distress, manifesting in various ways, from exhaustion to highly publicized behavioral incidents. In the early 2000s, Mariah experienced a highly publicized period of breakdown, particularly in 2001, which revealed the immense toll of her inner conflicts. A series of erratic public appearances, including a memorable impromptu striptease on MTV's TRL and a bizarre ice cream truck appearance, culminated in her hospitalization for extreme exhaustion. This period, though framed by the media as a sensational meltdown, was a raw, visceral manifestation of her deeper struggles with mental health and the overwhelming pressures of fame. She later revealed she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a private battle she had fought for years. This revelation shed light on the profound internal landscape she navigated, providing a crucial, compassionate context for her seemingly erratic behavior. Close, private relationships, though few, offered solace. Her friendships with select individuals, often those outside the immediate glare of the music industry, provided a safe space for her to be vulnerable, to shed the diva persona, and to simply be Mariah. These were the confidants who witnessed the hidden tears, the quiet struggles, and the profound resilience that lay beneath the surface, a testament to her enduring spirit in the face of immense personal and professional pressure. The initial whispers of decline for Mariah Carey began to circulate in the early 2000s, coalescing into a very public and intensely scrutinized period of professional and personal crisis. The seeds were sown in the wake of her departure from Columbia Records and her signing a massive, unprecedented deal with Virgin Records. The pressure to deliver another blockbuster, coupled with her already fragile emotional state following her divorce from Tommy Mottola and years of relentless touring and recording, created a volatile cocktail. The events leading to this decline were not a single catastrophic accident, but a slow, agonizing unraveling under the unblinking eye of the world. The specific circumstances of her crisis reached their apex in 2001, a year that would forever be etched into the narrative of her life. Her album and film project, Glitter, meant to be her grand cinematic debut, became a critical and commercial failure. The film was savaged by critics, and the soundtrack, despite some standout tracks, failed to live up to her previous astronomical sales figures. This professional setback was compounded by a very public deterioration of her mental health. Her now infamous appearances on MTV's TRL, where she pushed an ice cream cart onto the set and performed a bizarre, unrehearsed striptease, were seen by many as erratic and alarming. These moments, widely broadcast and replayed, painted a picture of an artist unraveling under immense pressure. The climax of this personal and professional crisis came swiftly. Following these public incidents, Mariah was hospitalized for extreme exhaustion, which was later revealed to be a symptom of a deeper struggle with bipolar disorder, a diagnosis she would only publicly share years later. The emotional and physical deterioration was palpable. Friends and close confidants described a woman teetering on the edge, overwhelmed by the demands of her career, the weight of public expectation, and unresolved personal traumas. The carefully constructed facade of the glamorous diva began to crack, revealing the raw vulnerability beneath. This period of intense scrutiny and personal turmoil led to the termination of her multi-million-dollar contract with Virgin Records, a stunning setback for an artist who had once seemed invincible. Her final moments in this specific nadir of her career were marked by a desperate need for a break, a profound withdrawal from the public eye to reclaim her mental and emotional well-being. There were no last words or poignant actions reported in this crisis, only a quiet retreat from the relentless glare of the spotlight, a desperate attempt to find solace and healing. The industry, initially quick to write her off, watched as she slowly, deliberately began the arduous process of rebuilding. This was not a tragic ending in the traditional sense of a physical death, but a deeply dramatic climax to a period of intense struggle, a testament to the fact that even the most glittering careers can be eclipsed by the crushing weight of internal battles and external pressures, ultimately forcing a beloved icon to confront her deepest vulnerabilities and fight for her own survival. The immediate reactions to Mariah Carey's highly publicized breakdown and the commercial failure of Glitter in 2001 were a cacophony of schadenfreude, concern, and the swift, brutal pronouncements of a fickle industry. The media, ever hungry for a narrative of fall from grace, reveled in the apparent unraveling of pop's most glamorous star. Tabloid headlines screamed about her meltdown, dissecting every perceived erratic public appearance. There was a pervasive sense that the Queen of Pop had finally lost her crown, that her reign was over. Record executives who had once fallen over themselves to sign her quietly distanced themselves, the termination of her Virgin Records contract a stark testament to the industry's ruthless nature. Yet, amidst the critical pile-on and the industry's cold shoulder, there was also an outpouring of genuine concern from her dedicated fanbase, the Lambelie, who understood that something deeper was at play. Friends and collaborators expressed worry, though often privately, about the immense pressure she had been under. There were no public funeral services or memorial tributes, as this was not a physical death, but a metaphorical one, the seeming demise of a certain era of her career. However, the period was marked by a public mourning of her perceived invincibility, a collective processing of seeing an icon so vulnerable. The media coverage of her retreat and subsequent recovery was initially skeptical, then cautiously optimistic. Her reemergence into the public eye was slow and deliberate. The grief of her family, particularly her mother Patricia and her closest confidants, was palpable but often kept private, away from the prying eyes of the press. They witnessed the emotional and physical toll firsthand, the quiet despair that lay beneath the public spectacle. The wider public, initially caught in the sensationalism, slowly began to reconsider, to empathize with the human being behind the headlines. There was a growing understanding that the pressures of global fame, coupled with pre-existing vulnerabilities, could indeed push even the strongest individuals to their breaking point. This period, though painful, ultimately laid the groundwork for a powerful narrative of resilience, a testament to her ability to not only survive the storm, but to emerge stronger, ready to reclaim her voice and her place in the pantheon of music. Mariah Carey's long-term legacy is a vibrant, living testament to her unparalleled vocal artistry and her profound influence on pop music and culture. Her story irrevocably reshaped the music industry, particularly for female vocalists. She established a new standard for vocal prowess, making the multi-octave range and intricate melismatic runs not just impressive, but almost a prerequisite for aspiring pop and R&B singers. She solidified the role of the female artist as a multifaceted songwriter and producer, actively involved in crafting her own sound and vision, a level of control that was rare for women in the male-dominated industry of her early career. She influenced public consciousness by unapologetically embracing her mixed-race heritage, navigating complex racial dynamics in a public forum, and later, by bravely sharing her mental health struggles, destigmatizing conversations around bipolar disorder. Lingering mysteries and prevailing myths continue to surround her, fueling endless fascination. The diva persona, meticulously cultivated and often exaggerated, remains a subject of debate. Was it a shield, a performance, or an authentic expression of her personality? The true extent of her influence by Tommy Mottola in her early career and her eventual liberation also remains a topic of nuanced discussion. A common misconception is that she relies solely on her whistle register, a flashy trick. Yet her true genius lies in her masterful songwriting, her emotive storytelling, and her ability to blend genres seamlessly, from pop and R&B to hip-hop and gospel. She is often inaccurately portrayed as simply a pop star, when in reality, she is a deeply accomplished musician, a vocal arranger, and a lyricist with a keen understanding of melody and harmony. Her story continues to resonate profoundly because it is a narrative of extraordinary talent overcoming immense adversity. It's a tale of resilience in the face of public scrutiny, personal trauma, and professional setbacks. From the poverty and racial prejudice of her childhood to the controlling environment of her first marriage, and then to her very public struggles with mental health, Mariah's journey is one of continuous struggle and triumphant rebirth. She taught generations that vulnerability can be a strength, that authenticity, even if messy, is vital, and that true artistic power comes from within. Her life offers a powerful lesson in self-acceptance, in reclaiming one's narrative, and in the enduring power of dreams. Through her music, she gifted the world anthems of hope, love, and perseverance, forging an unbreakable bond with her audience. The cultural impact of her voice, her image, and her unwavering spirit continues to reverberate, inspiring new artists and reminding us all of the profound human capacity for resilience and the sheer joy that unbridled talent can bring. The final notes of Mariah Carey's extraordinary saga will one day echo into silence, yet the resonance of her voice and her indomitable spirit will persist, a timeless melody woven into the tapestry of human dreams. She was more than a singer. She was a sonic alchemist, transforming personal pain into universal anthems, a fragile spirit forging an empire built on the sheer power of her unparalleled vocal cords. Her life, a crescendo of triumphs and silent struggles, painted vivid scenes of a woman who clawed her way from obscurity, survived the crushing weight of public expectation, and continually rose from the ashes of personal despair, always reclaiming her narrative, one defiant note at a time. From the quiet longings of a child seeking connection to the stratospheric adoration of millions, she navigated a world that sought to confine her, choosing instead to shatter every glass ceiling, every limitation, with the force of her own magnificent voice. The legacy she leaves is not merely a collection of #1 hits or a staggering 5-octave range, but a profound testament to the power of resilience, the beauty of vulnerability, and the transformative magic of artistic expression. Her journey, often a tightrope walk between euphoria and despair, prompts a vital question for us all. What hidden reservoirs of strength lie within us, waiting to be unleashed when we refuse to be silenced? Her spirit, a beacon of defiant individuality and glittering glamour, will continue to shine, a constant reminder that true genius resides not just in perfect pitch, but in the courage to bare one's soul, to sing one's truth, and to soar beyond every perceived limit, leaving behind a world forever enchanted by the breathtaking song of her own miraculous heart.